Hi, I'm Greg Schaefer. Welcome to the virtual CISO moment. It's Friday. Things are winding down. I'm taking care of a few last minute items for a couple of clients before calling it a week. And my thoughts turn to a thread that I had read on LinkedIn a few days ago about metrics and metric board reporting. And the thread talked about what are the best metrics and how do we report them and what's meaningful. And I think one of the points were, well, if salespeople have to show their metrics as far as performance goes, shouldn't security folks have the same thing? And I got to thinking that this conversation has been around and around and around and around for ever, it seems like, in the security space, as long as information security has been around. When I interviewed 10 years ago for the CISO position for the Nashville Metropolitan Davidson County, that was one of the questions that was asked to me. So tell me, what are a few effective security metrics? And I kind of sat there and I stammered and, well, I guess you could talk about patches applied and well, scans and threats that your firewall blocked and that sort of stuff. And but I got the impression that that wasn't the best answer because I didn't feel like I answered it right. And while everybody in the group was kind of like, yeah, that sounds good, I also got the impression that they didn't know what the best answer was. And I think that is sort of a correct way of looking at what was happening at the time there. And yet we still have this conversation. So what are the best metrics? Well, let's take this another step. Let's just forget about metrics for a second and try to get to what it is that we're trying to do. We as security professionals, security executives, are responsible to let the board of directors have enough information so that they can make risk-informed decisions. Now, metrics without context do nothing. There were 10,000 hits against our firewall. Well, what does that mean? Okay, there were 10,000 hits out of X number of valid sessions. Well, now you've got some context. You could do a percentage, but what does that mean? Well, 32% of all traffic for businesses of our size and our type are attacks or scans or something. Okay, or phishing emails, something like that. And I'm just making up numbers here, which actually I think sometimes some of the numbers are about as good as those that are made up. Because it's like, who cares? There's no threat that's realized. There's no vulnerability that's exploited. There's no risk that's realized. And what's good for one organization may not be good for another one. It's almost like saying, well, how many cars were driving on the interstate this morning? And yay, we didn't get an accident because we didn't get into an accident because our defensive driving posture and our skill set and our brakes and our mechanical, all of that means that we countered the threat well. Well, yes, we countered the threat well, but what do we care how many cars were on the road? It's a meaningless statistic. And I've come to realize that a lot of the security metrics out there fall exactly into that. They're meaningless. They are almost sometimes used by security executives as a methodology to show that we need to buy more tools or bring in more people. And I'm not discounting the fact that more tools and more people are necessary, but it's not maybe necessarily a correct correlation between the two. So I am big about metrics, and I am big about trying to tell a story and trying to use facts to tell a story. And that's why I'm a big proponent of FAIR, which is a quantitative risk assessment methodology designed to give the board of directors at least some sort of an idea of what a high risk actually means. And these risks can be based on numbers of attacks. Certainly that plays into the FAIR taxonomy. As well as what the perceived loss might be, and so on and so forth. And FAIR is not perfect by any means, but at least it gives a little bit more of a direction to what the CISO is trying to do, and that is to convey to the board of directors enough information so that the board can make risk-informed decisions. So let's think about that statement again, because I've said that a couple of times. The CISO's role is to convey enough information so that the board of directors can make risk-informed decisions. And you can substitute board of directors in there with executive management as well, too, the C-suite. When you're talking about what metrics are good for board reporting, ask yourself this one question. How does that further the board having enough knowledge to make risk-informed decisions, business decisions? It may inform them to make a decision for you to buy a CASB or a UEBA device or some sort of new firewall, or going to AWS or enhancing the logging that's available, maybe adding CloudWatch or something. All those nice little tools are out there. But how does it answer the question to the board of directors in their head about what is our risk profile? Because we, as a board member, need to make risk-informed decisions in order to keep the business alive. So I think that that's what was bothering me about that thread that I was reading, because there was so much discussion about types of metrics and very little, if any, discussion about why those metrics are even in play. A salesperson proves value by bringing sales in. That is a quantifiable number, and you can't deny that. That's fact. There is no quantifiable number that can show the value of a chief information security officer. None. And we need to stop pretending that there is. After all this time of metrics and numbers and this and that, we have lost sight of the main reason for metrics is to provide the board of directors with enough information to make risk-informed decisions. So I would challenge both sides of the equations, those CISOs and virtual CISOs out there as well, because virtual CISOs, we do the exact same thing. We have to convey that knowledge, that of the threat, the risk environment, so that the business leaders can make risk-informed business decisions. We have to convey that in terms that the board can understand. We need to think more about what it is that they're looking for and speak their language, and stop talking about these metrics, these KPIs and KRIs, unless we can, for each KPI and KRI, have an answer for each one of those that definitively shows where it shows value, not to you as the CISO, not to you as far as the money you're saving the company, but for the board to make risk-informed decisions. Stay secure.